This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Short Stories, Three's a Crowd, Part 3. When we left off, Big Wood had gotten Salema all the way together about confronting him with that strange proposal in front of Tru. And her father got her together about the way in which she was fulfilling the requirements of becoming the queen pin. Tru wasn't present for these discussions because after the meet and greet, she went ahead and headed over to the hotel so that she could book her room. The entire ride, she was kicking her damn self. She could not understand for the life of her why seeing Salema sitting so close to Big Wood in the back seat of that car irritated her spirit so bad. Why seeing Salema's 6-foot-tall, statuesque form made her feel inadequate, or why Salema's talk game had made her want to chop on her damn throat. And she really couldn't figure out why she wanted to box Woody upside his damn head. None of those feelings made any sense to Tru. But see, as the middle child, Tru was trained by trauma. Now, I know y'all hear me reference birth order, zodiac signs, and the like quite often as we go through these bedtime stories. But I need y'all to know that I know, and I'm not trying to imply that either of these things have the power to dictate who we are or who we become, but they are a part of the nature-nurture dynamic that informs our personalities. And some of us are significantly more impacted by them than others. And when the nurture part of who we are functions in such a way that the natural tendencies of those things are strengthened, we tend to behave in some very predictable ways based on our birth order, our zodiac signs, and many other naturally occurring phenomena. And together, those two things can make it very difficult for us to change how we think, feel, and behave. But I digress. In Tru's case, being born in the middle of 5 sisters and being virtually invisible in her family reinforced the tendency that many middle children have of operating in the shadows, shying away from the limelight, expecting not to be a priority, and disregarding their own feelings. So, being raised with the lifelong understanding that her intelligence and her skills were a gift intended to be used for the benefit of others, coupled with being a Libra, reinforced her tendency to be a people pleaser, as unproblematic in her relationships with others as possible, and a rider willing to die while she was riding. But when you add in the death of her high school sweetheart Bo, her 2 best friends moving to Dallas and leaving her in North Carolina to run her parents' restaurant almost single-handedly, and having to unalive the only man that she'd ever let get too close, you've got to know that something was broken in Tru. So now, not only was she hell-bent on not letting anybody else get too close, man or woman, she said no new friends. She was also determined to do what she pleased. She was determined to write the remaining chapters in the book of her life her way, and to hell with what anyone else desired if it wasn't aligned with her goal, making the biggest, most visible impact while remaining invisible. She wanted people to hear her name and wish they knew her. She wanted an unforgettable footprint. She wanted her shadow to be what she wasn't: huge, looming, and unable to be missed. Too bad she couldn't see that she was already all of that without agreeing to be her best friend's right-hand woman in a criminal enterprise and fighting her own feelings for Big Wood. So when the car pulled up to the hotel, Tru had already completed online check-in under an assumed name, got her digital key, and decided that instead of heading right back to the safe house, she'd go to the room for a little while and decompress. She said to the driver, "How does this work? Because I don't need to be back for about 3 hours, and I figured I'd hang out here for a little while." The driver explained how the process worked, that he was assigned to her and Woody, and all she had to do was call him on the satellite phone that she was assigned, remain inside, and he'd call her when he was outside and the coast was clear. There was a whole system of calling and not answering and then calling again, and this whole process to eliminate as many answered phone calls as possible. Because despite the fact that they were using satellite phones, they still needed to eliminate the risk that these calls might be intercepted. And even the drivers were trained killers. So when they pulled up on the scene, they was already scoping everything out and making sure the coast was clear before they got their assignee. When Tru got to her room, the floodgates opened. Not so much that she was crying, but she was raging. She threw a full-on tantrum, throwing stuff around, cursing herself out, talking to God out loud. Tru said, listen, God, I know that I haven't been doing everything right, and I sin a lot. And I have to imagine that this is not the life that you want for me, but this is where I am right now. Work with me. One thing I do know is I love you and you love me. And I'm still pissed about that move you pulled with Bo, but I'm trying to work through it. I can't do whatever this is, though. This thing with Woody, I can't do that. So I'm gonna need you to shut that down. Shut it off. All I want to do is work. I don't want to feel. I don't want to think about him. I don't want to dream about him. I don't want to care about whatever he got going on with Susie Q or whatever her name is. Hell, how about you let them two get married? Then that'll eliminate all of that. I promise not to care, and you promise not to let me care. Can we do that? This went on for quite a while, and somewhere in the middle of her tirade, there was a knock on her door. Confused, Tru went over to the door and stood on her tippy toes so she could see out of the peephole and was like, the hell he doing here? And how he know what room I was staying in? Big Wood was at the door, and she had no idea how long he was standing there or how much of her tirade he'd overheard. When she opened the door, he walked in and said, what you doing in here, little mama? You good? Tru asked, how did you know what room I was in? Woody said, come on, little mama. You got a satellite phone. We're on this job together, remember? Tru didn't like the fact that all of her movements could be tracked, and she said, and what happens if I power that damn phone off? Woody said, you get on a plane and go back to the States. Your privacy is not more important than your safety. Now, you want to tell me why this room looked like World War III happened? Tru said, I had to get off a little frustration. Woody said, it's a boxing bag and a whole gym back at the safe house. Tru said, I needed some distance from the safe house. Woody asked, you needed distance from the safe house or from me? Tru said, to be honest, I needed distance from you and your girlfriend, Susie Q. Woody said, her name is Salema, and that's not my girlfriend. Tru said, I don't give a damn what her name is. Woody said, so y'all gonna beef now? Because that's not good for business. Tru said, what I'm gonna beef with her for? I ain't got nothing she want. And if she got something I want, she can keep it. Woody said, if you tell me what you want, I could tell you if she got it or not. Tru just stared at Woody. Woody said, how about this? Let's do this job, and then we can talk on the way back home. Tru said, ain't nothing for us to talk about now or then. Woody said, when the last time you had a good orgasm? You might need to get one of those so you're not in here trashing these people good rooms. You're going to have to clean all this up if you plan to bring somebody back here and take them for a test drive. Tru said, get the hell out, Woody. Woody said, when you finish putting this room back together, I'll be in the car. Before he walked out the door, Woody said, tell my boy I said what's up. Tru said, your boy who? Woody said, God. When he closed the door behind himself, Tru looked up and said, really, Lord? This what we doing? And she heard Woody laugh in the hallway. Annoyed and embarrassed, she kicked one of the pillows across the room. When she got downstairs, Woody was waiting for her in the car. Inside, she said, I don't know how much of my private conversation with God you overheard, but I was venting. So I may have said some things that I didn't actually mean the way that I said them, because I was talking to somebody who I talk to on a regular basis, who knows me and knows how I communicate. Woody said, we listen and we don't judge. Tru said, that's the point. You wasn't supposed to listen. When you got there and you heard me talking, you should have just knocked on the door. Woody said, what would be the fun in that? Tru said, I wasn't talking for you or your entertainment. Woody said, but you said some things that I think we need to. Tru said, if I wasn't talking to you, then it wasn't your business. Woody said, okay, little mama, I'll receive that. But I have some things I want to say for the record. Ain't nothing between me and Salema. I'm not marrying her. And if you feel like this is some type of competition or it's going to interfere with your ability to put in work, Tru cut him off again and said, competition for what, Woody? I've made it clear to you more times than I can count that I have no interest in mixing business with pleasure. I don't want to be another notch in your belt. I don't want things to be weird and awkward as we work together over the next however many years. And I don't want to be having static with your hoes. Woody said, but you still owe me 24 hours. Tru said, what are you talking about? when Woody and Tru were on his family vacation in Denver. The very first night, Tru got into it with his sister Zyla. She left the cabin and went to the hotel resort bar, and he found her there. And he told her to give him 48 hours to change her mind about engaging in extracurricular activities with him. That 48 hours was interrupted when they had to leave Denver and go to the Dominican Republic. So when he reminded her, Tru said, "So you plan to get the other 24 hours here? Now?" Woody said, "No. I plan to focus on putting in this work, and we'll have that 24 hours when we get back to the States." Back at the safe house, the gang was all there. And while Tru was gone, 2 more heads of the families had arrived, Idra Charles and Nigel St. James. Nigel was also Q's uncle on his father's side. When the introductions were made, Tru was not surprised that the 3 heads of the 3 families were already well acquainted with her name. Idra said, "So, Tru, have you been versed on the first part of the plan?" When Tru said no, Idra ran it down. He said, "Clearly we use men and women in our operations. And on our first time meeting, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We don't objectify women. We don't reduce you all to your sexuality. But we do believe in using all the skills that all of our men and women have at their disposal. And in you and Salema and several of the other women on the team, we have the advantage of your beauty and your sex appeal." When Tru blushed, Uncle Nigel said, "Girl, cut it out. I know you fine as hell." And all the men chuckled. Then Uncle Samuel said, "We're not asking you to sleep with anybody. You understand that, right?" Tru said, "I got it." And then Idra said, "And we're not telling you not to." When Woody shifted uncomfortable, Idra looked at him and said, "You got a problem, Big Wood?" Woody said, "Nah, I'm good." Idra looked at Samuel. Samuel looked at Idra. And they both looked at Tru. Tru stood up a little straighter and stuck her chest out. She did not want any of these men to try to connect her romantically to Woody in their minds. What we want is for you to use your natural abilities to get them in a position that they can't get out of. Nigel said, "It's the oldest trick in the book, so you're going to have to play it like a pro." Then Idra said, "And as I understand, you've got nonchalant laissez-faire down to a science. So your story is, you're here on vacation, a girl's trip. You'll have coverage the entire time, so you won't need guns. But that doesn't mean you should be going in unarmed. And if those weapons are found or you're questioned," Tru said, "I'm a small woman. I always have to have something to protect myself just in case." Samuel said, "Exactly. So you'll have men and women in position, and they'll have your back no matter what. And if anything don't look right, you get the hell out of there. Trust your instincts and your training. This is not a every woman for themselves mission, though. You're going in there as friends on a trip together, and that means you need to act like women on a trip together." Salema said, "So, no different than when I go to the club with my girls in the city. We come together, we leave together." Tru said, "Got it." And before Tru could ask any questions about how they'd get outfitted for a night out on the town in the Dominican Republic, Uncle Samuel said, "So you got hair and makeup and wardrobe upstairs? Go do what y'all do. You've got just enough time for appetizers and drinks at the bar before you head over to the club." The 5 women headed upstairs, and they were all sizes, shapes, colors, and flavors. And when they came back downstairs, their hair was done, makeup was done, they was dressed to the nines, body yaddy yaddy on display, skin glistening, and ready for a night on the town in the DR. Salema said, "Damn, Tru. I see what Big Wood see in you. You like girls?" Tru said, No. And please, stop with the associations between me and Woody. This is business. Ain't no pleasure." Salema said, "Okay." When the women entered the room, all eyes were on them. All of the men remained respectful. Many of them diverted their attention because they were married men. Some of them, married or not, couldn't take their eyes off the women. And when Tru looked up, Woody's eyes were locked on her.